Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we will be looking at a relatively new product and one that is constantly getting sold out. So every time it comes back in stock, it goes to sold out within a month. And that is Mind Trip by Sullivan and Illusionist, a triple kind of mind reading effect that uses a magazine page. It is great, it is fun, but it does have some hiccups that I do think you need to know based on how many spectators are being used and a few other things. So even though it is great, it does have some things that you need to keep in mind before purchasing. So let's roll the intro and dive straight into it. Perfect, so you decided to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Mind Trip. So what is Mind Trip? In essence, Mind Trip is a triple mind reading effect where you have one magazine page and with one question, you're able to get all three of the spectators' thought of cities directly revealed. Okay, so that is what Mind Trip is. Now, unfortunately, I don't have three spectators, so I won't be able to perform it for you, but I can tell you how this would work. So you would remove from your pocket your magazine page. You would tell your spectator that these are 100 places to visit before you die, and they're numbered from 1 to 50 on this side and from 51 to 100 on the other side. So you're going to give the first spectator the choice to think of any number from 1 to 50. So they're going to think of one and they're not going to say it out loud. And then you're going to tell that you're going to think of a number from 50, 51 to 100. But do you want to think of an odd number or an even number? They're going to tell you, and the other spectator is going to think of a number from 51 to 100 of opposite. So if he said odd, he's going to think of even, or vice versa, so they don't think of the same city. So then when every spectator has a number in mind, you give the page to the first spectator. He's going to open it up and look at the destination and his number. He's going to pass it to the second one and to the third one, and then they're going to pass it back to you. You fold it and you place it away. Okay? So then you're going to have three spectators thinking of three different destinations, and then you're going to tell them that, okay, I'm getting something here in mind. I'm getting kind of, I don't know. I think this is going to be more for, can you think of it? No, definitely not. I think I'm getting you is you and you. I'm getting like a V in mind. Does that make sense for you? It makes sense for you. It does. Then you're going to be able to reveal their a city, then their city and their city, or their city and their city, or all three at once if you want. So it's that quick. With just one question, you're able to reveal all three spectators' cities. Okay, so that is what Mind Trip will allow you to do, but that does change a bit if you have two spectators or just one spectator, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But in essence, where do you buy this? How much does it cost? And what do you get? So you can buy this from illusionist.com. It will set you back 25 USD, which is around 30-ish Canadian dollars. And what you get is this envelope. I don't know, it's a nice packaging, but it's such a big envelope for the piece of paper. But you're going to get this inside. You're going to get a tutorial that is around 30-ish minutes with the creator, and he's going to talk to you about some ideas, how he does it on stage, how you can play this, make this play big, how to do it 1, 2 spectators, etc. So you're going to get that. Then you're also going to get 3 of these papers. You're going to get one of these, which is, I believe, it's a bit of a thicker material. So it's not Tyvek, but it's a very thick material that you're going to be able to use. So this is going to be able to be folded, and it's not going to break easily. It's still a magazine page, but so it could break and could rip, but it will last you a good time. Then you also get an additional one, which is made of paper. So I will show you that one right now. So this one is much flimsier than this one. So he gives you the option to have it, but again, this one is flimsier. So this one would probably rip faster than this one. And then additionally, what you also get in this kind of folder, you're going to get one of these. You're going to get 2 of these as well. So to match the stuff, so you're going to 2 of these ones that are inspectable. So these are the ones that you can have maybe at the start or at the end of the routine. If you want to have your spectators look at them, you get 2 inspectable pieces. And then the last thing that I can't really show you is you get the instructions that you also get through video. You get them printed out on a magazine page for you to be able to read or have with you in a pinch. If you just want a small refresher, the instructions are very good. That's everything that you get with your purchase, okay? So now, before we get into difficulty, let's talk about what I mentioned about 2 and 1 spectator. So if you're doing this for just 1 spectator, okay, you will have to maybe ask multiple questions. Now, I don't want to say too much, but you can have it where they, think of a number and you immediately know it, but it can't be any number from 1 to 100. I won't say more about it. So if you're doing with 1 spectator, you can do a direct mind reading, but you're going to have to restrict their number choice, okay? Or if you want, you can have them say, do you want to think of a number on this page or this page? And then you can dwindle it down, and with, 1 or maybe 2 questions, get what they are. Most of the time it's 1 question, but for those that own it, you cannot do it with with 1 spectator and just have them think of any number and do it, because you're probably going to have to ask multiple questions, okay? But for 1 spectator, you can do it with a question, but you will maybe need to just have some specificities that you mention verbally, okay? If you do it with 2 spectators, again, you can do it with most likely 1 question, but maybe you will need also to work a bit around. So you're going to have someone, the first spectator think of a number from 1 to 50, second one from 51 to 100, and then you'll be able to work around with some language. So again, I don't want to tell too much, but there are some differences just slightly in the way that you perform this if it's 2 spectators or if it's 1 spectator. So there are a bit of things that you have to consider, but when you do it with 3 people, it is just as easy. You think of that, you think of that, you think of that. Am I sensing this? I am. You're thinking of this, this, and this. So for 3 spectators, it's super clean. But for 2 and 1, it is still clean, but you will have to play a bit with your language to make sure that it works with the least questions possible, and hopefully just 1, okay? So you will need to keep that in mind, or 0. There are some ways to do it with 1 spectator that there's 0 questions. You know what I mean. You can play around with it. It's very modular, okay? But I do want to mention that. So now that you know that, what is the difficulty of performing? The difficulty of performing is relatively easy. As I said, if you've been in mentalism for a long time, it's very easy to jazz around with this and play around with this and find ways of making this, super simple and seem super impossible. So it's very easy to jazz around with it, but the method itself, the core method, is extremely simple. It is super, super, super simple. So the effect itself is simple to do, okay? Now let's talk about practicality. So how practical is this? Now, if you want to do this on stage or somewhere like that where this will never be inspected, you can just remove this from your pocket. You just carry around 1 sheet of paper with you and you're good to go. So you can place this, you can even fold it once more and place it in your wallet and you're good to go. However, if you want this to be inspected, you will need to carry around the inspectable sheet and do some switching. Okay, so keep that in mind. That will also make the routine a bit more difficult because you have to maybe, have it inspected at the start, switched in, blah, blah, blah. So keep that in mind. You will need to play around with that. And that's still, inspectability wise, there are some technical issues there that we're going to talk about when we talk about inspectability, but it's mostly going to be 1 sheet of paper or 2 sheets of paper. Okay, that's what you carry around. Now, in terms of reset, the reset of this is instant. In terms of angles, the angles for this can be 360. In terms of needing a table, you do not need a table for this whatsoever. And in terms of inspectability, now, this cannot be inspected at the end of the routine, but it can be inspected at the start. So you can have a piece of paper, give it to someone, tell them, look through all of them, all the destinations are different, right? Blah, blah, blah. And then you tell them, I want you to think of a number, and then they're gonna stumble on what they do and you reveal to them. But even then, at the end, you cannot have it re-inspected because if they go back to their number, something may happen. And even at the start, you have to make sure that they don't really focus at the numbers or have a destination in mind, because method-wise, okay? So I don't want to say too much, but method-wise, this is not the most inspectable thing if your spectator is really trying to catch you, right? So if they're really trying to catch you, they'll find it, right? Even if you make it inspectable, they will find it. But I would, this is good if you just want to do it for 3 people and just take it and put it away. that's fine. But if you really want this to be inspectable from A to Z, you'll encounter some knickknacks and some issues with that. Okay, so keep it in mind. So having said that, where do you perform Mind Trip? So Mind Trip is something that you can perform close up very easily. If you have 3 spectators at a table or a cocktail or a corporate gig, anything like that, you can do it super easily in close-up scenario, mingle settings, super easily. If you have 3 spectators, 1 spectator, 2 spectators, you can play around with that. But where this excels, I feel, is even when the creator talks and has kind of, a back and forth and shares ideas with it. I think this works incredibly well in a parlor controlled setting or in a stage setting. This can slay because it comes super easy. You just have 3 spectators come up on stage. You show them this piece of paper. You give it to them, 1 to 3. You can even have the paper examined by the audience. So you have it in the audience. They look at it. Then you come take it back. You do some magic stuff. You give it to the first one, second one, third one, and they think of different destinations, and then you reveal all the 3 destinations. You can do one, you can do it by voice, so you can say it out loud. Another one, you could maybe, have it drawn or have the word, and another one could be a landmark, or one of them could be as a prediction. There's a ton of ways to reveal it if you're doing it in a stage type setting. So that's where I think it works best, in a parlor stage setting, but of course it can be done close up as well. So having said all of this, what are the positives and negatives of Mind Trip? And first of all, let's start off with the negatives. So one of the negatives is that this is not made out of Tyvek, which means that these are still going to get ripped and broken, which means that eventually you may have to buy refills. I don't know if there are any refills that exist, so very possibly you'll constantly need to buy the same one over and over again, so you're gonna have to repurchase the effect. But I do think that you can remake these yourself. You can have them photocopied, or you can bring them somewhere and get them printed for you en masse. If you want to say it like that, you can find that, but you do need to still be careful because, as I said, these can get ripped and bent and destroyed, and you do not want that. Even though you get 2, it's still not going to last your lifetime. So you do have to be careful. It can last an incredibly long time with care, but if you're careless, it will get destroyed sooner or later. And the last thing is that even though it is inspectable, it is not fully inspectable. If the spectator really is keen on busting you, he will bust you. Okay, that's what I mean by that. But in terms of the positives, 1, it is super simple to do. It is true that it's just 1 question for 3 spectators, and that also applies for 1 or 2 spectators with some language, with some language stuff going on. It is true as well. It's easy to carry with you. It's direct. It's fun. It's really well made. The instructional video is great. The packaging that you get with everything in it is really thought out. It's great. It's really well made. It's just a very fun effect if you're looking to do a triple mind reading effect. And what I also like about it is that it's very modular because, as I said, one of the reveals can be a prediction. One of them could be a drawing. One of them could be a landmark. One of them could be think of the word, you reveal the word. One of them could be have you been there, think of you at that vacation, I'm sensing this. So there's so many ways to get those 3 destinations from the spectators and ways to reveal them, which I always love in an effect, is when you have the freedom to choose the way that you want to reveal stuff, and this offers that to you. So having said all of this, would I recommend Mind Trip and what do I give it out of 10? I think that if you're someone that performs parlor or stage, I think this will go into your show and you will love it. Now, of course, there's other similar effects with travel. There's hundreds of them, but this is a very direct one and a very simple one that can let you focus on your presentation and also add some predictions to it as well, okay? So it is very good in that regard if you want to do it that way. So I do recommend it. And if you do close up, if you can do close up with 3 spectators where people don't want to inspect your stuff or when you're in control, this is also going to work. So I recommend it for you as well. So what do I have to give Mind Trip? I am giving Mind Trip an 8.75 on 10. It is good. The inspectability thing could hinder some people's purchases, but I do still think this is worth its weight, especially for the money. I think it is very, very good and justified and a very good release at that. That's all I have to say about Mind Trip. As always, if you have any additional questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you on my next review. Have a good one and bye-bye.